Hey, what's going on, YouTube? So, I was thinking about my last video, and I think I left off talking about when I finally got my truck from Swift. So, I started driving solo, making 36 cents a mile, and I immediately did the math, how much it takes to make $1,000 a week. And so it's somewhere around, to gross $1,000 a week, somewhere around 3,000 miles. So when you first do that math, you're like, man, that's a lot of miles. Most of us haven't driven, for 6 and 7 hours one direction in a car, probably in our lives. So anyway, you're like, oh, I can't do it that much driving. Well, after your mentor training, your ability to drive long distances get better and better every day. In the very beginning of my mentor training, I would say the hardest part was getting used to driving for really long periods of time. And the real challenge became, if you get a mentor like I had, they want you to drive night shifts, because what happens in the beginning, you drive solo and your trainer just watches you. So let's say you do that for a week. Well, after the first week, they call up to Swift, tell their driver manager that, hey, we're ready to team. And this is the part where they make their money. They don't make any money watching you drive. They make their money because they get paid while you drive and while they drive. They get all the miles. I can't remember if it's the exact same rate all the way through, because they get paid $1.12 a mile. But I think when the student drives, I think it's a different rate. But anyway, just imagine they getting paid for that truck to be, while it's moving, 24 hours a day. At this point, with 2 people driving, that's 11 hours per person. Or most times you don't drive a max day all the time. Some people probably do, not everybody. And we probably did about 8.5, 9 hours a day, so we didn't have to worry about recapping. If you don't know what that is, I'm sure I'll talk about it more later. So ideally you'll drive 8.5 hours a day each person. That's 17 hours a day, traveling around 60 something miles an hour. As you can imagine, that's a lot of miles covered in one day. I mean, I don't know what that is, 1,300 miles in a day. We literally cleared the whole east to west coast in 2.5 days. We delivered somewhere in, I want to say, southern Utah or southern California, San Bernardino, something like that, from Connecticut, I think once. We did it in like 2.5 days. So you can just imagine, he's getting, or she, whoever the trainer is, the mentor is, they're getting paid for every single mile. And so that'll lead to something else I'll talk about later, about how owner-operators make money. So with that said, you'll get used to driving long distances, and you'll get used to driving at night if you choose to drive at night. Because once you come out of your mentorship, you either be asked or they'll place you in dry van or refrigerated. Because Swift, for example, has dry van, refrigerated, flatbed. They also have a bunch of dedicated accounts as well. In those dedicated accounts, you have to ask about. They won't just, in most cases, they won't just let you know about those, because those are like the higher level opportunities with the company. In any company that you drive for, that's kind of, everybody wants them. So you kind of have to ask for them at the right time or something like that. I think I was somewhat exceptional. I was out there on my own, pushing that truck, doing those 2,800, 3,000, sometimes more than 3,000 miles in a week. And by the time I got to my 3rd month, not even my 3rd month, my 2nd month on my own, I got a phone call. I got a call from a guy named Tim from, I want to say he was a dispatcher out of Alabama somewhere, but he ran an account, him and a couple other people, that was flatbed, and I got offered the flatbed account, which was a mix of flatbed and dry van. The flatbed and dry van combination is a good way to get a taste of flatbed without having to do it all the time. And the account was amazing because my pay per mile didn't change, but my flatbed opportunities led to more money. Flatbed in general over the whole industry pretty much pays better than dry van because you have a tarp, you have straps, you have to secure your loads, so you get paid extra for those tarping and strapping. And in Swift they paid you like, I want to say $30 or $40 for every time you got a flatbed load because of the tarp. And I think you got paid like $20 or so every time you had to retarp for each stop or something like that, plus like another $15 per stop. I mean, the money added up. It was nice. So you really, once you got into flatbed, you really look forward to those flatbed loads. So if anybody's capable, when you come into trucking, if you're a physically capable person, you really want to consider flatbed. You know, it has its downsides. You know, you outside in the weather, especially if you're doing covered wagon. I should have put a picture up. I may have a picture coming for the covered wagon, but the covered wagon is basically a flatbed trailer, and they put wood, like a wood wall, all the way around the trailer, and it's covered with a tarp, and it has metal ribs that's curved over it to give it that wagon look. And with those, it can be tough. You know, you definitely have to get used to it. You have to learn it in order to operate with it smoothly. I definitely made some mistakes with that put me to work for a couple hours at times to get it back together when I first started it. It's tough. Stuff like wind and rain make it even more difficult. But your paycheck looks a lot better. I was able to gross over $1,000 almost every week after I got into flatbed. Some weeks in dry van or refrigerated, they send you to areas that don't have much freight, and then you have to wait till the next day to get a load. Sometimes I think they got things like layover pay, where you have to sit and wait for like 24 hours before you get a load or something like that, and they'll give you like $100 for having to sit. Refrigerated, you got detention pay. You get it with dry van too, but with refrigerated, you guaranteed to need detention pay because there's sometimes that you're going to be sitting at a dock for 2, 3, 4 hours on average, which means there are some times where you may sit at a dock for 10 hours. I know for a fact. I got one of the buddies I graduated with from Swift Academy became an owner operator there, and he went to the refrigerator. He stayed on the refrigerator side, which is where he was from the start. And he would call me those days when we talked every single day. So he would say, "Man, you wouldn't believe I've been sitting at this dock since, 9, 10 hours ago." Now, you get paid like $15, $16 an hour of detention pay after you've been there for 2 hours. So, needless to say, he got a lot of detention pay every week. So, you get paid more to move. Obviously, if you did the math, it's 36 cents a mile at 60-something miles an hour. You're talking about $20-something an hour while you're moving. So that's why the goal is always moving. You don't want to sit on detention for long periods of time, and you don't want to be collecting a layover check. So a company that don't have a lot of freight, you may find yourself sitting a lot. That ain't good. You want somebody to work with someone that's going to keep you moving. Swift can keep you moving, but Swift has a lot of drivers. Sometimes they have to send you to places where there's not much freight because they do have these straggling customers, and these little small areas, these small towns. So sometimes it takes them a little bit before they get you a load. It's all part of the game. That's what leads to what you would call your bad weeks. Your bad weeks when you don't gross that normal number. You taking home 600 or 700 instead of 800 or 900. Sometimes you might, if it's a really bad week, you might take home 5. I've done that a couple times too. But all that stuff did was fuel my desire to go out and become a lease purchase owner operator. Leasing the truck is the next level from being a company guy or company woman, and it's not apparently for everybody, because there's a lot of debate about it in the industry. Not everybody wants to lease, not everybody wants to own their own trucking fleet or trucking company, become a carrier and have your own DOT number and all those things. Those things are all the upper levels that a lot of people work towards. So that was my experience over at Swift. Once you get in there and once you start driving, just always check for those dedicated accounts. I know some people getting paid 50 cents a mile, and the only thing they do is do Walmart loads or Target loads, or there are even some cases where owner operators have got into a dedicated Costco account at Swift. I don't know about anything else they got, but on my side of the country, that's what they were doing. I'm from Virginia, so I knew some people on a Costco account that were owner operators. And they were getting paid. I mean, every load, whether it was paying, I want to say, maybe $50 to $100 more than it would have normally paid had you just took it as a regular driver, as a regular over-the-road driver. And that's another thing. You'll be an over-the-road driver, OTR for short, for the most part. Some people get into a regional situation, which regional just means you only touch on a certain area, like Southeast, Northeast, Midwest, something like that. Regional means you get to come home probably every other week or every week in some cases. If home time is important, that's the kind of stuff you want to look into, dedicated and regional stuff like that. You can't become a local truck driver too. You could just do the academy thing to get your license. And like I said before, the academy at Swift was like $4,400 with the hotel room included and all that. And you stay with them for, it takes 2 years to pay that off. They don't talk about that much at all. You make sure you ask about that. By the time I got to the 12th month, I want to say, no, it wasn't the 12th month. I can't remember how far I made it, but I didn't stay there a whole year. But the way you see it come out of your paycheck, they're literally taking a little bit off at a time over the course. They're charging you and taking it away at the same time. It's really weird how they do it in your pay stub. But anyway, it takes a while to pay that thing off. And if you leave, you got to take that balance with you, and then you got to pay them monthly. I pay them $100 a month. You could pay them $120. I mean, they let you decide what you can afford wherever you go. They don't stress you out a whole lot about it. But anyway, I think we're going to end it right there. I got a lot more stuff that I want to talk about. See y'all in the next video.